Hey, what's already? Welcome back to News Dose, and it was only about a week ago when everybody kind of wrote off Xbox Game Pass. Armchair analysts from their keyboards claim that it's bad for gaming, it's bad for studios, and it's really just the worst thing in the entire universe. I swear this topic pops up about 4 or 5 times every single year, and you would think that people would have learned by this point. Even if there is a single developer among the thousands upon thousands of developers out there that doesn't like Game Pass, that doesn't mean that that person is actually correct. At the end of the day, it's only an opinion. But I guess there's a lot of people looking for the good old-fashioned confirmation bias. However, in the real world, factually, if you look at the actual data, which we're going to do that today, it seems like Game Pass not only is sustainable, but it's actually doing very well based off of Microsoft's latest announcements. So stay tuned, and we're going to get into all of that, as well as Nintendo apparently raising their prices for the excuse that we keep hearing about, quote-unquote, market conditions. First, though, big shout out to my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. You all are absolutely awesome, and you will receive this video through early access. Just thank you all so very much. Let's just go get right into things, though, starting off with Battlefield 6. We finally got its multiplayer gameplay reveal, and I'm actually a bit surprised to say this, but I came away very impressed. I know they've been saying it for years and years, but it actually seems like they managed to tap into Battlefield's roots, because this reminds me a lot of, older Battlefield games like Battlefield 3. The destruction, the vehicular combat, the characters, and just the overall art design. It's very reminiscent of Battlefield 3, which is still debatably the best entry in the entire franchise. So, to be compared to that one specifically, I'd say that's a pretty good sign, if anything else. In fact, while I was watching the trailer, it dawned on me that I haven't really seen a multiplayer shooter in a long time that takes me back to my teenage years when I was playing these type of games in the 2000s. So I walked away from this trailer feeling somewhat nostalgic, but, even then, I'm still going to go into this with tempered expectations until they prove me otherwise, just because it's one thing to put out a good trailer, but it's an entirely other thing to actually execute. Here's the hopeful optimism, though, and as an added bonus, they did confirm its $70 price for the base game, so no to $80 after all. Nintendo still stands alone on that entire ordeal. Oh, and we got some unfortunate news for you Bioshock fans out there. I know it's been a long wait for Bioshock 4, but it sounds like the wait will be a bit longer before you get the chance to revisit the Bioshock universe again. Not only was the Bioshock 1 remake reportedly canceled, but after a change in leadership, 2K Games also recently told Cloud Chamber that they need to become more agile and efficient. So this has led to some concern that there will be some layoffs within that studio, though honestly, I can't really place the blame on 2K Games. I know there's a lot of people that use its publishers as scapegoats from their accountability, but Bioshock 4 was announced way back in 2019, and it kind of sounds like we are hearing about an internal delay. So it's been in development for at least 6 years, if not even longer than that. So now they're kind of at that critical point that I keep talking about on the channel. Is this game even sustainable by this point? Because the development has just taken such a long time that, time is money. Every day that this game is in development, that budget is ballooning just that much more. And let's just say that it doesn't release until 2027. Well, if that were to happen, then how many units are they going to have to sell just to simply break even? It's gonna be a lot. Now, the good news for them is that Bioshock is a big franchise, so that does afford them some extra time, but for fans, hopefully, the wait will be worth it. Currently, though, they're telling us that they're working hard to set Bioshock up for the best possible future. They said right now we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one. We are working closely with leadership at the studio to define this path. Now, that's just PR for you, though. Unfortunately, actions speaks louder than words, and clearly, they're not happy with that studio and what they've produced thus far. Now, that could change in the future. It seems like they want to make a stellar game. That's kind of how they're describing it. But for now, there is definitely some concern for Bioshock 4. Now, we also got an update for the Switch 2 as it now nears 6 million units sold, which is absolutely insane. The official number is 5.82 million in just its first 7 weeks alone. And to put that into perspective, the PlayStation 4 was previously the fastest selling console at 4.5 million for its first quarter. So, I mean, we're talking about a full million plus lead for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think that speaks volumes about how good of a job Nintendo has handled its launch. I mean, we can debate about their game prices being $80 and the game key card situation. That is all very debatable, but they did do a fantastic job in flooding the market with Switch 2 units. It's the exact reason that we haven't heard a lot about scalper problems, because Nintendo basically made their schemes a non-issue. The Switch 2 has mostly been readily available. In fact, I just checked on Best Buy a moment ago, and they still have some units available, and I think that's what this number represents. I mean, who knows how well it's going to sell over the course of its lifetime, but I do like how they've handled its launch, and this should be the new norm going forward for all console launches, or at least I would hope that would be the case. Okay, now speaking of Nintendo, let's just go and get into some of the big news here, which includes some price hikes for the Switch 1, because apparently, after 8 years, the Switch 1 is more desirable than ever before. It just needs to go up for that quote-unquote excuse that we keep hearing, being market conditions. You can read Nintendo's full statement here, which says, pricing for the original Nintendo Switch family of systems and products will change in the United States based on market conditions, effective August 3rd, 2025. These include Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo Switch Lite, and select Nintendo Switch accessories. Other Nintendo products, including certain Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, select Amiibo, and the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo will also see adjustments. Pricing for the Nintendo Switch 2 system, physical and digital Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 games, as well as Nintendo Switch Online memberships, will remain unchanged at this time. However, please note that price adjustments may be necessary in the future, so there's a little bit of a warning there for us, but yeah. The new prices will be $400 for the Switch OLED, $340 for the original Switch, and $230 for the Switch Lite. Now, I think that this is honestly pretty ridiculous for a few different reasons. I mean, I know everybody's going to point to tariffs, and yeah, that might play a part here. But I mean, come on, these consoles are 8 years old, with 0 price decreases in that period of time. I mean, I guess it is what it is. Most people who want a Switch probably already has a Switch, but I don't know. To see a price increase for an 8-year-old console seems a little bit absurd. What's just as absurd, though, is the continued hate that Game Pass receives on a daily basis from fans that I believe are more upset by the console that it's on rather than the actual service itself. I mean, I've said it before, and I'm just going to go and say it again here. The business side of things are up to Microsoft and the companies that signs with them. But the reason that I praise Xbox Game Pass is because I view it from a fan's perspective. And in my opinion, it's one of the only truly consumer-friendly options in the entire industry. A lot of people are struggling in the world right now. And while it's great to buy your games, that's awesome if you do, but it's nice to have a service like this that's affordable for consumers, that likes to play a lot of games on a monthly basis, but maybe, they don't want to spend a crazy amount of money. So that's how I view something like Game Pass. It's a good option for fans. And I do find it a little bit strange that there's a loud part of the community, a very loud part of the community, that wants to tear one of the only consumer-friendly options down that we have in today's gaming market. However, every once in a while, we get hit by reality because we do get a peek behind the curtains to see how Game Pass is actually faring from that more business side of things. And Microsoft just revealed that information as a part of their quarterly report. They announced that Game Pass is in fact doing very well for them, and in reality, it surpassed $5 billion in annual revenue for the first time ever. Yes, billion with a B. So that is absolutely incredible to hear, and even more so when you realize that Xbox continues to rise in annual revenue. They're now up to $23.45 billion, and a big part of that is because of their success on other platforms. Satya Nadella was very happy to announce that they were the #1 publisher on both Xbox and on PlayStation last quarter. I mean, we already kind of knew that from various different reports over the year, but clearly that multi-platform strategy combined with their ecosystem that includes Game Pass on Xbox and PC has been making them a lot of money. And that's pretty much why they're doing what they're doing. You can even argue that's why PlayStation is dipping their toes into a more multi-platform future. There's a lot of money to be had outside of their ecosystem. They see that because Xbox is leading by example right now. I mean, not everybody's going to agree with their multi-platform approach, and I get that. But that's what's currently happening, and companies, they like their money. So that's where we currently are. Either which way, though, for as much as people want to act like Xbox is, this dead platform, this, that, and the other, their results definitely tells an entirely different story, especially for something like Xbox Game Pass. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.